The smell of oregano and cumin filled my small kitchen. I was grinding spices by hand. The way my mother taught me in Guadalajara 60 years ago. The mortar and pestle had belonged to her, the stone worn smooth from decades of use. Outside my apartment window, Chicago's autumn rain tapped a steady rhythm against the glass. This was my routine. This was my peace. I had just finished preparing the mole sauce when my phone rang. Michael's name appeared on the screen. My son rarely called on weekday afternoons. Something tightened in my chest, but I told myself not to worry. Maybe he just wanted to check on his old mother. Mom, Linda and I are coming over. We need to talk to you about something important. His voice had that careful tone he used when he wanted something. I recognized it from when he was 10 years old, asking for a new bicycle. Of course, Mijo. I just made fresh tamales. Come for dinner. We already ate, Mom. This won't take long. They arrived 20 minutes later. Linda wore her expensive suit, the kind she wore to business meetings. Michael carried a leather folder. They didn't take off their shoes at the door. Linda's heels clicked across my worn linoleum floor, and I noticed her nose wrinkle slightly at the smell of my cooking. Sit, please. I gestured to my small dining table. Coffee? Tea? We're fine, Mom. Michael opened the folder. We need to discuss your living situation. I felt my hands grow cold. My living situation? Linda leaned forward, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Rosa, we're worried about you. You're almost 70. Living alone in this neighborhood, in this tiny apartment. What if something happens? I'm 68, and I'm fine. I walk to the market every day. I cook. I clean. I have my friends at church. That's exactly the problem, Michael interrupted. You're doing too much. At your age, you should be relaxing, being taken care of. From his folder, he pulled out a glossy brochure, Meadowbrook Senior Living Community. It's beautiful, Mom. Meals prepared for you, activities, 24-hour medical care. You'd have your own room, and you wouldn't have to worry about anything. I stared at the brochure. The photos showed elderly people playing cards, eating in a cafeteria, sitting in wheelchairs by windows. My stomach turned. This place costs money. I can't afford. Don't worry about that. Linda cut me off quickly. Too quickly. We've been thinking about this for a while. We're willing to help financially, but we'd need you to sign some papers. Just formalities. Really. Power of attorney. So we can manage your affairs while you're settling in. Makes everything easier. She slid papers across my table. Legal documents with tiny print. My eyes, which could still read recipe cards and prayer books without glasses, struggled with the dense text. I need time to think about this. Michael's jaw tightened. Mom, we've already put down a deposit. There's a spot available next month. These places fill up fast. You put down a deposit without asking me. We're trying to help you. Linda's voice hardened. God knows you've never been good with money. Still living in this dump when you could have had so much more. I felt heat rising in my face, but I kept my voice calm. I will think about it. Leave the papers. I will read them carefully. Michael stood abruptly. We need an answer by Friday, Mom. The deposit is non-refundable. After they left, I sat in my kitchen for a long time. The tamales had gone cold. I pulled the papers closer and began to read. Slowly, carefully. Power of attorney. Asset transfer. Sale of interest. And there, in paragraph 7, buried in legal language, transfer of all ownership rights, shares, and claims to Martinez Restaurant Holdings, Incorporated. My hands began to shake. They didn't know. All these years, and they had no idea. That night, I couldn't sleep. I got up and made myself chamomile tea, sitting at my table as memories flooded back. I thought about Miguel, my husband, gone 15 years now. We had met when I was 19, fresh from Mexico, working as a dishwasher at a small taqueria. He was the cook. We fell in love over shared shifts and stolen kisses in the alley during smoke breaks. Together, we saved every penny. We bought that taqueria when the owner retired. We worked 20-hour days. I cooked. Miguel managed the business. We lived in a room above the restaurant for 5 years. Then we opened a second location, then a third. By the time Michael was born, we owned 6 restaurants. But Miguel was smart. He knew my traditional family would never respect a woman in business. He knew people would try to take advantage of me if they knew I had money. So we structured everything carefully. Miguel was the public face. I was the cook's wife, always in the kitchen, never in the office. But I owned 40%. It was in writing, witnessed by lawyers, locked in a trust. When Miguel died, his 60% went to Michael in a carefully structured arrangement. Michael became CEO, managing the day-to-day operations. But he needed my shares to sell. He needed my signature to do anything major. And he had no idea I had them. He thought I was just his poor old mother who used to cook in Dad's restaurants. He thought I had nothing. The next morning, I called Maya Rodriguez. She was 28, the head chef at our flagship restaurant. I had been training her for 2 years, ever since I noticed her talent and her hunger to learn. She reminded me of myself at that age. Maya, mi amor, I need to meet with you. Not at the restaurant. Can you come to my apartment? When Maya arrived, I showed her the papers. Her eyes widened. Rosa, they're trying to trick you into signing away your shares. If you sign this, they can sell the entire company. I know. I poured us both coffee. Tell me, how is business? Better than ever. The new River North location is packed every night. But Rosa. She hesitated. Michael has been making changes. He wants to modernize the menu. Take out your recipes. He says authentic Mexican doesn't bring in enough money. He wants to make it upscale Latin fusion. Anger burned in my chest. Those recipes were my mother's, my grandmother's. 3 generations of women who learned to survive by feeding others. And the staff? Maya's face fell. He fired Rosa Gomez last week. She'd been with you for 15 years, but she couldn't keep up with his new efficiency standards. He hired younger, cheaper workers. People who don't care about the food, just about getting through their shift. I set down my coffee cup. Maya, do you remember what I taught you about mole? She looked confused at the change in subject. Yes. That it takes 3 days to make properly. That you can't rush the process. That every ingredient matters. And do you believe that? Of course. It's what makes your mole the best in Chicago. Michael doesn't believe it. He wants to buy pre-made sauce and heat it up. He thinks no one will know the difference. I met her eyes. What if I told you that you could run the company the right way? Keep the recipes authentic. Treat the workers fairly. Build something that honors where we came from? Rosa, I'm just a chef. I don't know anything about running a corporation. I was just a dishwasher once. But I learned, and you're much smarter than I was at your age. You went to culinary school. You understand food costs, inventory, management. You just need to believe in yourself. Over the next 3 days, I made my preparations. I called my lawyer, Mr. Chen, who had helped Miguel set up the company structure. I asked him to pull the original incorporation documents, the trust papers, everything. Mrs. Martinez, he said carefully, does Michael know about your ownership? No. His father and I thought it best to wait until Michael was older, more mature. We were going to tell him on his 30th birthday. But then Miguel died. And I couldn't. Michael was so grief-stricken, so I waited. And then years passed, and it seemed too late to bring it up. You have every legal right to your shares. But this will be a shock to him. Let it be a shock. He's trying to steal from his own mother. On Friday, Michael called. Mom, we need that paperwork signed. Can we pick you up tomorrow at 10? We have a meeting scheduled with the Meadowbrook administrator. I'll be ready. But I didn't pack for a nursing home. Instead, I dressed in my best clothes, a simple black dress that Linda once called too plain for a restaurant opening. I pinned my grandmother's pearl brooch to my collar. I put on lipstick for the first time in months. When I looked in the mirror, I saw not a frail old woman, but Rosa Martinez, who had built an empire from nothing. Michael seemed surprised when he picked me up. "You look nice, Mom." "Thank you, Mio. But we didn't drive to Meadowbrook." Instead, Michael pulled up to a downtown office building. "Quick stop first," he said. "Just need to sign something at the lawyer's office. Then we'll head over to Meadowbrook." Linda was already waiting in the lobby, along with a man in an expensive suit. "Mrs. Martinez, I'm Robert Kellerman, representing the Hartwell Investment Group. We're very excited about acquiring Martinez Restaurant Holdings." My heart pounded, but I kept my face neutral. "Acquiring? Oh, didn't Michael tell you? We're buying the company. Very generous offer, actually. Michael will walk away quite wealthy." "I see." I let them lead me to the conference room. Inside, a long table was surrounded by people I didn't recognize. Lawyers, accountants, people in suits shuffling papers. Michael directed me to a chair at the end of the table, like I was a child attending a grown-up meeting. "We just need a few signatures from you, Mom," Michael said, sliding papers in front of me. Then everything's settled. I picked up the pen. Then I set it down. "Before I sign anything, I'd like my lawyer present." Michael's face darkened. "Mom, that's not necessary. We're family." "Then you won't mind waiting." I pulled out my phone and called Mr. Chen. "We're at the Kellerman Building, Conference Room B." "Yes, please come now." Linda's eyes narrowed. "Rosa, you're being difficult. We're trying to help you. Are you?" I met her gaze. "Tell me, Linda, how much is this sale worth?" Kellerman answered, $42 million. "And how much were you planning to give me?" Silence. Michael looked away. I thought so. When Mr. Chen arrived, he carried a thick folder. He nodded at me, then took a seat beside me. "Good morning, everyone. I represent Mrs. Rosa Martinez. Before we proceed, I need to clarify something about the ownership structure of Martinez Restaurant Holdings." Michael waved his hand dismissively. "We know the structure. My father owned the company. When he died, it passed to me. Mom was just. She worked in the kitchen. She doesn't have any ownership stake." Mr. Chen opened his folder. "Actually, Michael, that's incorrect. When your parents founded the company in 1987, it was structured as follows. Miguel Martinez held 60%. Rosa Martinez held 40%. Upon Miguel's death, his shares were placed in a trust with Michael as the beneficiary, but with certain restrictions. He cannot sell, transfer, or dissolve the company without the majority shareholders' approval." The room went very quiet. "That's impossible," Linda said. "We've reviewed all the corporate documents. Rosa's name isn't on anything. Her name is on the original incorporation papers, the trust documents, and the shareholder agreement." Mr. Chen slid copies across the table. "All properly filed with the state of Illinois. All legally binding." I watched my son's face as he processed this information. Confusion, disbelief, then anger. "You?" He stared at me. "You own 40%? All this time?" "Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Your father and I were going to tell you when you turned 30. When we thought you were mature enough to understand. But he died before your birthday, and you were so lost. So angry. I wanted to wait until you were ready. I'm 45 years old. And yet, you're still not ready." I gestured at the papers in front of me. "You tried to trick your own mother into signing away her rights. You were going to put me in a home and sell the company we built with our own hands. Were you even going to tell me? Or were you just going to take the money and disappear?" Michael's face went red. "I've been running this company for 15 years. I've grown it from 6 restaurants to 23. I've made it profitable. And you've been what? Hiding in your apartment? Playing the poor widow?" "I've been watching," I said quietly. "And I've seen what you've become. You fired Rosa Gomez, who changed your diapers when you were a baby. You want to erase your father's recipes, the ones that built this company. You hired me to make authentic mole for the flagship restaurant, but tell customers it's your interpretation of traditional cuisine. You're ashamed of where you came from. I'm trying to build something bigger, something modern. You don't understand business in today's market. I understand that people come to Martinez restaurants for real food, made with love, by people who are treated with respect. Your father understood that, but you've forgotten. Kellerman cleared his throat. Perhaps we should pause this meeting. Give everyone time to. No, I straightened in my chair. Mr. Chen, I'd like to exercise my rights as majority shareholder. Michael laughed bitterly. Majority? Mom, you can't do math either. You have 40%. I have 60. Mr. Chen shook his head. Actually, Michael, your shares are held in trust until you're 50. You can manage the company, draw a salary, and receive dividends. But you don't have voting rights on major decisions. Those voting rights are held by the trustee. Who's the trustee? Your mother. The color drained from Michael's face. So yes, I continued, I am the majority voter. And as such, I am removing you as CEO, effective immediately. You can't do that. I can. And I am. I turned to Maya, who had slipped into the room behind Mr. Chen. Maya Rodriguez. I'm appointing you as the new CEO of Martinez Restaurant Holdings. Maya's eyes went wide. Rosa, you care about the food. You care about the people. You understand what we built and why it matters. That's all I need. Michael slammed his hand on the table. This is insane. You're giving my company to some cook? Some cook is exactly what your father and I were. And we built something beautiful. Now Maya will protect it. I stood up, and Mr. Chen stood with me. As for you, Michael, you will remain on the payroll, but not as CEO. You'll work in the kitchen at our original location. Minimum wage, like your father and I started with. For 1 year, you'll learn every station. You'll wash dishes. You'll mop floors. You'll remember what real work feels like. You're humiliating me. I'm giving you a chance to find yourself again. The son I raised wouldn't have done this to his mother, but maybe that son is still in there somewhere. Maybe a year of honest work will remind you who you really are. Linda stood up. You can't force him to work in a kitchen. He has a reputation. A career. He can walk away right now, I said calmly. But if he does, he loses everything. His trust doesn't pay out until he's 50, remember? He can either work for minimum wage for 1 year, or he can try to find another job that will pay him what he thinks he's worth. His choice. I picked up my purse. Before I left, I looked back at my son. He sat there, stunned, his perfect world shattered. When your father and I came to this country, we had nothing. We cleaned toilets and scrubbed grease from other people's stoves. We were grateful for the work. We never forgot where we came from. Maybe it's time you remembered too. The next weeks were hard. Michael didn't speak to me. Linda filed for divorce. I heard through Maya that Michael showed up to the kitchen that first Monday, his face set in angry determination. The other workers didn't know what to make of the former CEO washing dishes beside them. But I also heard other things. I heard that he stayed late one night to help the prep cook who was behind. I heard that he burned his hand on a pan and one of the grandmothers on staff treated it with aloe, scolding him gently in Spanish. I heard that he started arriving early to watch the morning crew make the day's tortillas by hand. 3 months in, Maya called me. You need to come to the restaurant. Today, my heart jumped. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Just come. When I arrived at the original location, the lunch rush was over. Michael was in the kitchen, kneading dough for tomorrow's bread. His hands were rough now, covered in small cuts and burns. He looked up when I entered, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. I found Abuela's recipe book, he said finally. The original one, from Mexico. It was in Dad's office, in the safe. I never knew it was there. Your father kept it safe for me. I've been trying to make her mole. The real one, the one that takes 3 days. I keep messing it up, His voice cracked. I can't get it right. I walked over to the counter. Show me what you've done so far. We worked side by side for the next hour. I showed him how to toast the chilies without burning them, how to know when the chocolate had melted perfectly into the sauce, how to taste and adjust until the balance was right. You have to trust the process, I told him. You can't rush it. You can't skip steps. Every ingredient has a purpose. Like people, he said quietly. Yes, like people. When the mole was finally right, he tasted it and closed his eyes. This tastes like being 7 years old in Grandma's kitchen. That's because it is the same recipe, the same love, the same care. He set down his spoon and looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I forgot what you and Dad sacrificed. I got caught up in profits and expansion and impressing people who don't matter. I forgot about the people who do matter. I know. Mijo, I don't deserve forgiveness. Probably not, I agreed, but I'm giving it to you anyway. That's what mothers do. He started to cry then, this grown man who had tried to steal from me, standing in our kitchen with rough hands and tears on his face. And I held him, the way I did when he was small, whispering that everything would be okay. A year later, I sat in the same boardroom where I had fired my son. But this time, the room was full of our workers, our chefs, our managers. Maya stood at the head of the table, presenting the annual report. Revenue is up 32%, she announced. Customer satisfaction scores are the highest they've ever been. We've won 3 major awards for authentic Mexican cuisine. And most importantly, worker retention is at 98%. People want to work for us because we treat them like family. Michael, now the director of culinary development, stood to present his section. We've returned to traditional recipes in all locations. We've established a training program where our senior cooks teach younger workers the old techniques. And we've started a scholarship program for children of our workers who want to attend culinary school. After the meeting, the 3 of us, Maya, Michael, and I, walked to the original restaurant. It was the dinner rush, and the place was packed. The smell of corn tortillas and simmering mole filled the air. Through the kitchen window, I could see young cooks working alongside older ones, learning, laughing, creating. This is what your father wanted, I told Michael. Not just a business. A legacy. A place where people could come and feel at home. Where workers could build a life. Where food meant something more than just fuel. I understand that now. He squeezed my hand. Thank you for not giving up on me. I'm your mother. I never give up on you. As I walked home that night, past the streets Miguel and I used to walk 40 years ago, I thought about the twists life takes. How I had gone from a dishwasher to an owner, from a powerless immigrant to a woman who could fire her own son. How sometimes, the people who underestimate you give you the greatest gift. The chance to prove them wrong. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Come for dinner tomorrow? I'm making abuela's pozole. I think I finally got it right. I smiled and typed back, I'll be there. The rain had stopped. The evening air smelled like autumn and possibility. I had my small apartment, my simple life, my quiet routines, but I also had my dignity, my legacy, and my family, broken and repaired but still together. And sometimes, that's more than enough. Sometimes, that's everything. I climbed the stairs to my apartment, unlocked the door, and started preparing tomorrow's masa. Because no matter how much money you have, no matter what titles you hold, the most important work is still done with your own 2 hands, in your own kitchen, with love as the secret ingredient that makes everything else possible. The mortar and pestle sat ready on the counter. Tomorrow I would teach Michael's daughter, my granddaughter Sophia, how to grind spices properly. She was 10 now, the same age Michael had been when I first taught him to make tortillas. But unlike her father, she already understood that some things can't be rushed, can't be modernized, can't be bought or sold. She understood that the best things in life are made from scratch, with patience, with tradition, with the wisdom passed down from women who knew that real power doesn't come from titles or money, but from knowing who you are and never forgetting where you came from. And as I ground the cumin seeds, the familiar scent rising like a prayer, I thought, this is my story. Not the story of a victim who was saved, but the story of a woman who saved herself, who saved her family, who saved the legacy she and her husband had built from nothing. I am Rosa Martinez. I am 68 years old. I own 40% of a restaurant empire. And I still make the best mole in Chicago. That is my truth. And no one, not even my own son, can ever take that away from me.